Hey guys, welcome to another session of RBTL. Pretty short one this week in terms of updates. Not much to talk about except Basar really. So I'm going to talk about Basar at the end. I'm just going to go down. Not much to talk about here in terms of, yeah, we got a side story event. We got our usual stuff. So I'm going to go down. My thoughts on the powder shop. And that's it. I mean, that's pretty small update. So video over. Video over. Anyways, powder shop refresh coming this, of course, after this patch here. Violet talisman at this point, I mean, I've seen some violets use it, seen some other thieves use it on a defense team. I think it takes too long for violet talisman to be really good. Interestingly, when violet talisman got a buff, we a couple of us theory crafted on assassin Kali using violet talisman, since she could stack it pretty quick and she gets some evasion chance. So I mean, that still can be an option, although I still think that assassin Kali on Dust Devil and RNL is much more threatening nowadays, especially if you're running her on a defense team. So again, you know, with a grain of salt, do you want violet talisman? While it's much more usable pre-buff, much more usable than pre-buff, I don't know if it's worth your powder at this point. Abyssal Crown. This was funny because I know that one of my friends, Code, he's going to be getting all of this. He has 2,000 plus powders or something, just waiting to plus 30 Abyssal Crown. Song of Stars, this time I'm not missing out on this one. I don't own one myself, but this one does do debuffs even if you're on Assyria and you hit like, let's say a fire hero. It can land it, just like all artifacts can land at this point if it misses. So Song of Stars will, I think it removes a 15% evasion chance, or grants a 15% more hit chance or something like that, or something smaller, and then 15% more damage overall. So it would be really good, I think, if I coupled her with my like Dark Corvus, or actually any unit that I need high damage on. I think it will be probably one of my go-tos for GVG offensive fights. Aliha's Knife, still relatively good, although I think that most people run Portrait now for specific reasons. Water's Origin, definitely a good one. Strat Gauntlet, I think becoming more and more used, especially in high end. Effect Resistance is an amazing thing to have. And Hail Like Lance, which I still don't really find that much use for. Very couple niche team comps. So this is my thoughts on it. I think higher priorities would be like Abyssal Crown still remains one of the best mage artifacts in terms of granting debuffs. Song of Stars is really good to have, and I think those two are it. Rod of Amaryllis, if you don't have one, I definitely think you should get one. Rod comes in handy with multiple healers, so I don't think I need to go through each one, but Montmorency's like best in slot artifact right now. I think it looks to be Rod of Amaryllis. So if you don't have one, or if you need multiples, I would highly suggest, if you could afford it, just pick that up. I myself, I think I'm using the powders for the Bottle of Knowledge. I'm finishing off the Draco Plate. I think it's probably one of the best artifacts going forward still. I have enough dupes to max enhance it. I just never... Oh, actually, no. I don't have enough dupes to max enhance it, but I need 2 more Bottles of Knowledge to get that max one. So that's it for that, and then we'll talk about Basar. So Basar, I know I'm going to get a lot of questions, and I did. Post data mine, a lot of people ask, hey, Jagan, should I get that green mage Basar? And at this point, I'd say that if you are heavy into PvP, so that means like Arena and GVG, I would say Basar is a pretty safe investment, looking like it at least. Some may say that he's a bit too OP at this point. We don't have the skill page for Basar, at least not uploaded on Stove right now. So I can use this time to actually just go into the game itself, so you guys can actually see some visuals. I have Basar's Heroes Journal opened up here. 6-star Awaken, these are the stats you're looking at. So a couple classes, or rather horoscopes or star sign mages, actually got some speed buffs. I think Tenebria is one of them, and Tenebria is a Leo, and Aquarius was one. So Basar got some speed buffs. Right now he's at 108. So right before the recording, I compared it with Harado. Harado right now, they're the same. I would say the same sort of role that they play would be a stripper. And Harado does something similar to Basar now, where they can full strip and then also CR pushback the enemy. So that's pretty good. Basar does have a 111 speed. So if you're fishing for like the highest speed, I would say Harado. And of course, Harado is elemental agnostic in terms of like he will never miss, whereas Basar can miss like fire heroes. So those are some things to consider. And the Basar, of course, is a 5-star, and Harado now doesn't require any Molagora for skill enhancement. So I have seen a lot of people actually build up Harado, but I don't know if that means that they just don't want to use Basar or they don't have Basar. I'm not quite sure that. But in my opinion right now, at least in most top arena teams, defense teams, mind you, Basar is one of the most ran heroes on it. He's really good. I think the stats to aim for really is 250 plus speed and as much effectiveness as possible. I think the aim would be at least 130 to 150 effectiveness. Now those do require quite a bit of substat rolls, but definitely worth it, especially if you run him on a defense team. He definitely needs to be fast, as fast as possible. If you're on a defense team, I would definitely run him on Abyssal Crown, so it is in the powder shop. So if you are thinking of like this awesome, like if you have gear for Basar and you don't have Basar, you're just like, okay, this is my time to do it. I would definitely think about investing in a plus 30 Abyssal Crown on him. Abyssal Crown on him was really good since he can strip the buff. So if anybody comes in to fight with immunity, he can strip it and then potentially stun them as well. So it's really good on a defense team. If you're bringing Basar onto an offense team, you know, really on a GVG or arena fight, all of you really need to do is know what kind of heroes you're fighting. So for example, if it's like a somewhat of a sustainish team, like let's say like a ML Ken, Ruel, ML Cecilia, and C Armin or something like that, if you know you could beat their speed, you can bring Basar in. And the most amazing thing, of course, for Basar is the S3. The soul burn effect is just amazing. Ignore effect resistance, what this will do is, of course, make them unbuffable, strip them, and then also push them back by 30 CR, as long as you don't miss, of course. So again, risky on a fire hero or people running A card and you actually miss from the evasion passive. But amazing skill to have, and this is why I think Basar is a bit too over buffed. So the developers over time did buff him so that he becomes more usable again, and I think that he is way too usable right now. That's just my opinion, but you know, if that is gonna continue to be the case, then he's gonna keep his buffed condition. I would definitely invest in Basar. And then of course, if you run him on a Toggle Hall's Ancient Book on an offensive team, you immediately get the ignore effect resist if you need it. So it's really good. I actually once was just in a GVG fight not long ago, in a top 20 fight, and I had the choice. I used Basar with Toggle Hall's Ancient Book, plus 30 of course, so you get the 20 souls from the get-go. I had the choice whether or not to soul burn one of my DPS or soul burn Basar. But when I went into the fight, not knowing the speeds of the enemy, I realized that they were all way faster than my DPS. So what I ended up doing was just like not risking it, and I soul burned it, and of course ended up winning that fight. But that made a difference. If I didn't push back any of the heroes on the other side, it would have been risky. So that's super crazy. And then this is not bad itself. Like he's like a mini Dizzy. This is an AoE. It does up to a 75% decrease hit and attack for 2 turns. Amazing skill to have. And again, AoE, so if you have like Abyssal Crown or Zero Ren, something that does debuffs, that's going to be amazing to have after you run this, right? Most likely you're stripping them so they don't have the immunity. They're prone to this. Most likely your Basar should be at high effectiveness. So having this hit chance and the attack down on a DPS hero, because most likely they'll run low effect resistance, is monumental to keeping him or other people alive. It's amazing. The I would say the S1 I never really get to see. Either the fight finishes or I just don't see the benefits from this, but it's still good. Has up to a 75% chance to transfer 1 debuff from the caster to the enemy, and then before inflicting random debuff for 2 turns. The random debuffs is listed there: silence, decreased defense, decreased attack, and unhealable. So he's very loaded, to be honest. In terms of Molagora, if you were gonna use him a lot, I would say in defense and in offense. I would say that you just need the -1 turn cooldown on the S3, the effect chance on the S2, and at the most the effect chance on the S1. But I wouldn't even touch the S1 in my opinion, unless you just have like amazing gear and he's proved to be a valuable asset. Myself, I don't have him molded at all because I don't see myself using him past his sandstorm refresh. Like, so I wouldn't expect him to go down to 4 turns. The fight should be over by then. Either I lose or they lose. That's usually the case for me. So that's my personal preference. The imprint release and imprint concentration, this should be rated now as well going forward when I do any hero thoughts, because this will I think definitely change the game. Imprint release is pretty garbage, especially if you're running Basar. Most likely you're not going to be running a lot of other heroes that need high effectiveness, but the imprint concentration is somewhat OP. The imprint concentration here at triple S is 27% self-effectiveness. That, of course, like I said, he already has 18 base effectiveness with his awakenings, and if he gets that 27, man, oh man, it's gonna be crazy. My Basar right now has about 130, I think, 130 effectiveness. So if I got him to triple S, which he's not, he would have almost 150. So the minimal requirements, I think, to run him at a high end PvP. Like I said, I think if you're running him on a defense team, his speed and effectiveness has got to take over the soul burn. So in that case, like I said, 250 plus speed, it has to be, and at least 150 effectiveness. That's what you should aim for. With the self imprint, it's much more achievable that way. And if you are running him on an offense team, the speed just has to beat your enemies. The effectiveness is still nice to have. So in any case, on average, if you are, don't have lucky speed rolls, I think you're gonna be getting about like 230-ish speed on Basar, 240 if you get lucky on a couple pieces. But like I said, 250 is necessary. That would be equivalent to a speed set, speed boot, and at least like a 15 speed roll on each other piece. That's not the boot. That's just something to know. Of course, Tywin Basar cleave comps are pretty popular right now. I think it's like Tywin, Basar, and then the other two can be a mix and match of like other things. Like either you have 2 mages, so you can soulburn Basar and then soulburn Tywin. So Tywin's soulburn would be a AoE defense break into another turn to do a CR push with crit rate and attack up. Like Tywin Basar C Dom and BBK or something like that. I've seen multiple ways to do it. So you don't need to leave your team comps in the comments down below, but I know that people are going to do it anyways, especially after I said you don't need to leave it. They're just going to do it. This is what I use, Jagan. But actually, you know what? Leave it in the comments below, because then other players can benefit from it. So just do it. Just do it, actually. I can't go through all the team comps. Anyways, so in terms of like, okay, should you pull for him? I think he actually does serve a very important role right now, especially if you're mid-tier to high-end GVG. A stripper is very important, since they really nerfed ML Baal to the ground. He's pretty much not so usable. Either you invest in Gerardo or you invest in Basar, but I think Basar just looks cooler. But again, I've already showed you the pros and cons between a Basar and Gerardo. I think Basar is just overloaded, so that the ignore effect resistance it comes in handy in a lot of fights, and I think that's his major selling point for me. Anyways, I'm gonna end this here. That's my thoughts on Basar. So hopefully you guys, if you guys do pull for him, hopefully you guys get him early. I'm gonna end this here. If you guys have Discord, check out the Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys on the next RBTL, or Reading Between the Lines.